Hey, it's Misha here. Just kind of thought I would talk with you about another couple of my favorite AKs. It's just one of those late night discussions. It's raining out, cold. It's Friday night here when I'm doing this. I have the nice excuse actually not to be working, so why not take it, right guys? What I have here is these are both milled AK Type 3s. This is an SSR 99P. And this here is an SLR 100H. Both of these guns are AK-47 or AK Type 3, if you will, variants, and they're both semi-autos, legally assembled here in the USA on Bulgarian milled receivers. Actually, about 20 years ago now, come to think on it. The SSR 99P is built with a Polish Circle 11. The factory we know today is FB Radom. KBKG WZ 1960, or just 60, part set, and the SLR 100H is built on the same Bulgarian milled receiver from a Hungarian FEG AK-55 part set. Now, neither of these are new. They've been in several videos, but this is kind of the hope one in my personal channel. This is a really neat story, and I think these are among the best authentic, 50s style milled AKs that were mass produced. There are definitely re-welds. Matt Yeaman did some awesome re-welds, but these were mass produced guns, and these were done early days. Well, the story is pretty neat. Early on, really before, and really just when it was getting started, before Arsenal Incorporated, Las Vegas, Nevada, we had another Arsenal. Arsenal USA. Now, like Arsenal Incorporated, Arsenal Inc., Arsenal USA was importing Bulgarian guns, or at least they tried to. Originally, they were going to do the SLR 100, a 5.56 chambered gun brought over from Bulgaria. Previously, other importers, such as Dominion and later Intric, brought over the SA-93 and SLR-95, both in 7.62. But before the SLR-100 and 5.56 could become a reality, the government's rules on imported rifles changed late 97 into 98. They re-evaluated the 1989 import ban and decided that if a weapon could accept a standard capacity magazine, it was no longer qualified as sporting. And they said if it can take a mag over 10 rounds, it's a no-go. And of course, the SLR 100 would have had a mag over 10 rounds. So what Arsenal USA did, they read the law carefully and realized that it did not prohibit receivers, just virgin receivers. So they imported a batch of SLR 100 receivers along with some Bulgarian virgin parts sets. And then Arsenal USA contracted with a company, Gordon Technologies, or just GT, home of the G-Spot. I kid you not, that's what it was called. And Gordon Tech was going to build up these Arsenal kits and Arsenal receivers into complete guns, and they did. These were called the SSR 99. And Gordon Tech would build about 150 for Arsenal USA, but then the companies would have a falling out, and Arsenal USA would build another 120 themselves, meaning the total is about 250 to 275 of the SSR 99, which is a 100% Bulgarian gun built from virgin parts. There also was the K101, similar story, same type of gun, but in 5.56. Again, about 100 or so were built by Gordon Tech, and then another 50 by Arsenal USA in-house. So a very small number. So those are the originals. That gets us to the SSR 99P here. P for Polish, I guess. Why not? At that time, a good number of Polish WZ 60 kits were available. This was long before the barrel ban. So the kit was complete sans receiver. So Arsenal USA worked with Gordon Tech to build these into complete semi-auto guns. And that's what we have here. Now, so this is all Polish, except for the Bulgarian, which is still a very high quality milled receiver. These had the grenade launcher cut off. They had the original 16-inch chrome-lined cold hammer forged barrel, usually with an excellent bore. Now, these were made between 1999 and about 2001, which was dag in the middle of the assault weapons ban. So what Gordon Tech would do, they would spot weld the muzzle nut on to cover the threads. Now, at that time, most people were aware of the AKM style bayonet, sorry my sling guys, bayonet lug under the gas block here. But not as many were aware of the lug under the front sight base, this little kind of thing here for the Type 1. So quite a few of these guns escaped having this shaved off because it just wasn't freaking apparent, which is neat. These would have original wood, either laminate or hardwood. Now, one difference, the original Polish gun would have had a screwed-in barrel. The Bulgarian receivers were press and pin, so they did have to modify the barrel slightly to work in the Bulgarian receiver. Not a big deal. Keep in mind, guns like the Chinese Polytech Legend also had press and pin barrels. We have the smooth top cover. These have the original pistol grip. Now, it was interesting. Usually, this would just be in the box, and there'd be some just cheap, cheesy US-made grip. But the wood one would be included. They would also sometimes have US-made wood grips. This would also have the original grenade launching compatible buttstock. You can tell this bracket here is for the boot. These would have double hook triggers, US made. And Gordon Tech would finish these with a nice paint finish, which is actually pretty appropriate. Originally, When these guns were new in Poland, the military versions, I should say, they had a blued finish with hard wood. But these grenade launching variants were actually kept in service until the mid, even late 70s, until a whole new grenade launching system was finally adopted in Poland. So they were refurbished. Well, during refurbishment in the 70s, they were given a paint finish, and if the hardwood were damaged, they would be replaced with laminated wood. So I think the paint finish is very appropriate, considering the alternative. One thing I didn't mention, this does have the grenade launcher lock here on the back of the dust cover. Pretty neat. And I've got a Polish early generation sling on it. These would often be shipped with the full grenade launching kit too in a backpack. In between 99 and 2001, give or take, Gordon Tech would do about 500 of these. It's worth noting that after the fallout with Arsenal USA, they would continue to kind of assemble these with what they had on hand. And these are some of the earliest milled guns available in the U.S., at least built professionally into a high degree of fit and finish. Gordon Tech was well respected. They were a bit of a self-promoter, at least their owner was, but you know what? His work could back it up, especially for the late 90s. He knew what the hell he was doing making AKs when a lot of other people didn't. So that's why I'm perfectly happy to have a Gordon Tech gun. And with my Polish guns, I'm pretty picky. I love my Polish guns, and this is fits in. This gun I look for a very long time. These are not common. When people get them, they hang on to them. And these were pretty expensive even back when they were new. This one honestly came along at a really bad time in my life. Not that there was a bad time, but the timing was really poor. We had just moved, and right after moving, we were in a car wreck, and our vehicle was totaled. And we were a little banged up to boot. My wife was more or less unemployed, and my business was kind of on hold as my license transferred. So, worst time ever for a gun you've been looking for to come up. But I had missed one of these on Gunbroker about a year earlier and kicked myself for it. It went for about $2,000 at that time. This one popped up on Gunbroker. It had the full kit. And I think the guy wanted like $1,500. I thought it was a reasonable, considering the quality and the fact that this isn't quite good shape. So, luckily I've always been people that kind of squirrel away money. And I pulled the money together and bought it. And, shoot, that was over 4 years ago. And I'm sure happy I did, because I have not seen many of these come up for auctions since. Not only do I like the history, the Polish heritage, this is a very smooth gun. Nice trigger, a lot of fun to shoot, and because of the weight of the milled receiver, there's no recoil. It's a really, really fun gun, guys. There's the Century Polish 1960s that more of you probably are aware of. They're not half bad. They're one of Century's better guns. Now, they have a U.S. receiver and barrel, but for what they were, especially when they were being sold as new for about $600, they were very high quality too, at least compared to later Century things. So yeah, I just thought I would share this one here, and kind of that story of how it came to be, kind of a roundabout way. Well, so what about the SLR 100? Now, these receivers were marked both SLR 100 and SLR 100H. Most people say H for Hungarian. Could be. There's no real evidence. It's also been suggested that H was the original designation in Bulgaria for rail. But, you know, honestly, looking back even at the early Arsenal pages, they always used S for rail before they switched to R, so who knows? Doesn't really matter. This was a similar story, but it came later, and these really had nothing to do with Arsenal USA. But at this point, the receivers were coming in through Intric, and they wanted to build up a bunch of parts kits that came in from Hungary, AK-55 kits. Now, whereas the Polish kits were a relatively small number, they didn't make a ton of the WZ 1960s with the grenade launcher, they brought in a large number of AK-55 kits, and the condition ranged from near mint to pretty rugged. The way they took it on, they contracted with 4 companies to make test runs of about 600 rifles each. They would supply the kits and the receivers, and 4 companies would build rifles, and then they would evaluate and then award a contract. The 4 companies were Gordon Tech, Blue Ridge, Ohio Ordnance Works, and the folks who put mine together here, MSC. Well, Gordon Tech won the contract. No surprise there. It's been said that Gordon Tech had the better kits. I don't believe this. I've had Gordon Techs. Some were beautiful, some were just average. I've had Blue Ridges. The only ones I haven't had are the Ohio guns. But I don't think that the importer was going to go through and sort out the best kits for one of the test guys. They were just going to do whatever. Anyway, each made 600. Gordon Tech got the contract, and they would build a few thousand more, 2, maybe a few more thousand. Now, these receivers, these Bulgarian Virgin receivers, were still sold just as that. So Blue Ridge would continue to build them. They would do about 1,500 more. And most of these were under contract to Classic Firearms. And they actually did a few different variants. But mostly they still did the Hungarians here. I don't think after the test batch, MSC and Ohio really did much else. These were done, I don't know, back around 2001, 2002 mostly. And were pretty common and well-regarded builds. It's the same story with the Polish over there. We've got a Hungarian kit. Sometimes these were matching, sometimes not. They had the original barrels, though. They would have the original furniture. Hungarian wood. Pretty distinctive. The Hungarians, FEG, would do this very distinctive kind of checkered, let me get over here, guys, pistol grip. Then we have a hardwood stock. Finish on the metal could range, like mine here is phosphated. Gordon Tech would often still do a paint finish. Blue Ridge would either paint or blue. So finish could be blued, parkerized, painted, whatever. Some even left the original Hungarian finish on, I've been told. The problem is it's hard to know if an SLR Hungarian build was part of the contract or was just something someone else did, because the receivers weren't always marked. This Blue Ridge especially often didn't mark their work. These weren't grenade launcher guns, they were just standard infantry. These were again made during the ban. Now this muzzle nut is still actually tack welded on. I never saw a reason to remove it, because if I took it off, I would just have a muzzle nut on. That's correct for this gun. As far as the bayonet lug, this one, It's going to be difficult for me, guys, but I'll do my best. Sorry. They did kind of grind the fangs down a bit. They kind of removed the tip. But there's still more than enough of a notch for a bayonet to snap on and stay on. So there was a certain nod towards demilling the lugs on these. Keep in mind these guns came out well after the SSR 99Ps, so probably someone told them. Most of these, you know, have the pressed and pinned in barrels too. Some people claim that some of their Blue Ridge guns have true screw-in barrels. I've never seen them all, and Blue Ridge was pretty creative, so they very well could be right. I do know for a fact, though, because I've had them myself, Blue Ridge was pretty smart. They still pressed and pinned the barrels, but they would actually weld this over and then grind it flush before finishing, so they hid the barrel pin in some of their guns. That's the one feature I wish my gun had here, but oh well. Otherwise, I really like this MSC. One thing I do like about this, I was actually talking with Glock Shooter 79 about it just yesterday. The MSC guns have the original mag catch. It's a thick machined mag catch, whereas the Gordon Techs I've had the newer Bulgarian mag catch, which probably just came in the receiver when they got it. Small detail, but kind of neat. Now, the original AK-55 did not have a sling swivel on the stock, like the Russian. But the Bulgarian receiver was made originally for a modern gun, like an AR M1, which did have a sling swivel on the stock. So there was no swivel in the back of the receiver. So there were three ways these came around. Either no swivel at all in the back, or they would inlet the bottom of the stock for a swivel, or a very few had a swivel installed on the receiver. Now mine did not come with a swivel. I had to install it. That said, it's pretty dang easy to install these, I'm not gonna lie. You cut one vertical slot about 1 inch, and you put a milled rear swivel in. I really like having slings on my guns, and I think that really just kind of completes the look. So there are quite a few little variations of these, and of course there are variations in the kits. Mine's matching numbers, some weren't. Some of these had pretty crummy bores, a lot of them had pretty good, a few of them had excellent. Yeah, these in the early arsenals, like I said, the SA-93, the SLR-95, the later SLR-101, were among the earliest mill guns, but those other guns were, modern Bulgarian style. This is a traditional, true AK Type 3. And that's why I like these. A lot of people spend a lot of money and time trying to convert an SA-93 into a Type 3. I always just bought these because everything's original on it except for this receiver. And that's why I like these. And these were, for a long time, way undervalued. You could pick one up for $1,000 in excellent condition. $1,200 in box, maybe. They've gone up now, but again, each company made 600, so that's 2,400. Blue Ridge made another 1,500 on their own. Gordon Tech made a few on their own. I mean, not on their own, but under contract. So you're looking at least 6,000 of these, and that's not counting other builds from people like Vector, who use these receivers usually to build Bulgarian kits up, although sometimes Hungarian too. And plenty of others besides. But yeah, for a long time, back in the early 2000s, these receivers were the best things going for any kind of milled build. So if you wanted to do a milled gun, you used one of these here Arsenal receivers. Again, not imported by Arsenal Incorporated. Nothing to do with them. Nothing at all. This is my first MSC. I had a couple of Gordon Techs, and I had a Blue Ridge or two. These are those guns that I would get for a while, and then I would find something else and trade it off, and then get another one, because they were pretty common. They'd pop in. But I think this here is a keeper. Maybe if a nice Blue Ridge with the barrel pin hidden came in, maybe. But this one's a really nice gun. It shoots well. I shot it back-to-back with my old Polytech Legend, and frankly, I liked it better. It shot better, and it's more authentic because it has the original machined front sight base. It has that mag catch I showed you, and it has the correct 4 rivet, or rather 5 really if you count the back one, trigger guard, whereas the Polytech did not. Also, it has the correct rear sight. It's just a really smooth, nice gun. As to the finish on it being phosphated, I'm okay with that. Originally, these would have been blued too, but during refurbishments in the 70s, FEG would sometimes phosphate these. They would usually take them in from Hungarian military service, the AK-55, phosphate it, and then put it in a storage or give it away as war aid. So kind of like the Polish over here, this is a good example of a 70s refurbished AK-55. And anyhow, folks, it makes me happy, and that's really all this is about. I'm a collector, I'm also a shooter. It's a good, solid Kalashnikov, and this is built with all foreign parts, all Hungarian except for the receiver, really. So yeah, if you, for some reason, don't know of the SLR 100, you see one, personally, I rate these higher than a converted SA 93, far less of a headache. And next to, like I said, a Matt Yeaman Reweld, to me, this is about as good as it gets. And I like having authentic representations for my collection. So, I don't know, folks. Like I said, it's a rainy night. I just thought I'd chat AKs with you for a bit. For more info on the history of the original guns and more on these semi-autos, check out our main page over at Mishaco. If you could, like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate it. Sorry I didn't put mags in these, but I didn't want to bang them against each other, and you know what a mag looks like. These both take standard mags. Appreciate you tuning in, and I will catch you next time.